I just started noticing, I live in Michigan, so I noticed you didn't see any Hillary signs. If there were bumper stickers, you couldn't see them. And Trump, 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 Trump everywhere. And so I got very worried, and I tried to talk to people at the DNC and the Democratic Party and the Hillary campaign, and nobody wanted the buzzkill guy, because they were all convinced there's no way she was going to lose to this idiot. How could the smartest person ever run for president? Maybe one of the smartest. Lose to the dumbest person ever run for president. There's no way to convince anybody of that. So I tried. I went on Bill Maher. I told people this was going to happen. I got booed. Nobody wanted to hear it. And I just sat there. I remember sitting on the station just down the street on Television City, where Bill tapes the show, the house that Les built. And I had an experience in that building one day with Las Mungas, and I got to write about it sometime.
Better time than the present.
I know, I got so much to do, but anyways, back to this. So I sat there and I listened to people boo me, and I remember thinking I was really tired of doing this, frankly, to be honest. Tired of making these movies, tired of trying to warn people about whether it was General Motors, the decimation of the middle class that was coming. There would be no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. I was booed off the Oscar stage for that one. Yes, the health care that we needed, not the flimsy Obamacare that we got. There was the first school shooting. I said, we should make a movie about this so that Columbine is the last school shooting. So you can imagine if you were me, after all these years, that it would be okay, right, to question why am I killing myself, knocking myself out to do this, when it doesn't seem to do much good. But I have noticed over the years, I noticed that it reaches 1 or 2 or 10 people. And I always hope that one of those 10 is, there's a young Michael Moore, there's a young Ava DuVernay, or there's a young Spike Lee, or there's somebody there, and the light bulb's going to go off in their head, and they're going to go, I'm going to do this. I can do this. I can do this better than him. He clearly has poor communication skills because he hasn't convinced anybody yet. Any of the things he's trying to warn them about, including Trump is going to be your president. And I believe he's a 2-term Trump. I believe that however old you are right now, you know your age, right? So how old will you be in January of 2025? That's how old you'll be when Trump is still your president.
You're convinced. You really okay? Now what
No, I know you're just saying that for effect, aren't you, Mike?
No, listen.
Yeah.
The takeaway. One of the takeaways I saw when I saw the film at the premiere in Toronto. Democracy, the Constitution. They don't just magically make things happen. You have to enforce it. You have to put it into action. This movie is a call, among other things, a call to action to enforce democracy. And if that happens, especially this November, when the who knows, but November 6th, hopefully that will sort of start the ball rolling, because we're almost at the halfway point anyway with his first term. Do you think that there's a chance that he won't be when 2025 in January?
I tried to convince Steve Bannon to be in the film, and I got him to come over to the production office a couple months ago to meet with me to convince him to be in the film, just to show you how smart he really is. You did not see him in this film, but we had a 2-hour talk, and I knew he had said those things about his 2 heroes in film were me and Lenny Riefenstahl, Hitler's documentary. And but I wanted to ask him the first question that's in the movie: how the fuck did this happen? And he said, well, that's an easy answer. Our side, we go for the head wound, and your side, you show up for a pillow fight. And I know, I told him when I was putting the film up, we're the majority. I know you're the majority. You won by 3 million votes. You've won 6 of the last 7 popular votes, presidential elections. More Americans agree with you, Michael Moore, than agree with me, Steve Bannon. So that means I have to come to the fight all geared up and ready to go for the head wound. And you people, and he said, the thing I feel kind of bad about you, and he told me that the first time he met me, he was at the world premiere of Roger and Me, my first film, which was in '89 at the Telluride Film Festival. He said, I was in the Masons Hall on that Friday night. They put you up against the gala that night in the Opera House. Do you remember about that film festival? And I was so bummed out because this is my first film, and they put us up against the gala opening night film. So I'm always got to come to my film. And he was there, and he told me where he was sitting, and I knew he was there because he sat behind Roger Ebert, the only critic to come to my film. And he said, I went out on the street after the movie. I was so messed up by your film. I thought, fuck, the populist revolution is going to come from the left. And this is going to be one of the proponents of it in this film. And he said, but I didn't realize at the time, obviously, that while we're fighting a war on one front, our war is against you and the liberal establishment. You have a war that you have to fight on 2 fronts. You have to fight us, and you have to fight the Democratic Party, who is hell-bent on making sure nothing ever really happens. And when we want to go to war, we get 29 Democratic U.S. senators to go along with us. Do you ever think if you wanted something, you could get 29 of us to go along with it? 29 Democratic senators went along with the invasion of Iraq. And the New York Times wrote editorials supporting it. And the New Yorker magazine, David Rednick wrote his big editorial supporting the invasion. The liberal establishment hates you, Michael Moore, and that is why you have not been able to stop us. It was so fucking awful to have him in my office. Listen to this. But he's such an ego. And he's so, I can see the evil genius of him. And he said, he laid out the blueprints of how they're going to win in November. He said, we're going to hold the House of Representatives by one or 2 seats. And he showed me how he was going to do it. And I thought, fuck, yeah, that will work. The fact that they know that about us, the fact that they know that this liberal state, this very blue state of California, in spite of San Diego and the Central Valley, this very blue state borders 2 of the 3 states where we have the best chance of electing a Democrat to the U.S. Senate. All we need to do is elect 3, all the ones we have the Senate, and then there is impeachment, right? So he knows that Californians will not give up their weekend, a weekend, in October, or the first weekend of November, to spend time in Elko, Nevada, or Flagstaff, Arizona. They're so convinced that people here are not fired up enough. So all you have to do is just go to the state next door to do this. So it was pretty, he said that Trump is, in the next 6 weeks, is going to run for re-election. Not in 2020, but they're going to pitch Trump's re-election is happening in November of 2018. And that they're going to run a re-election campaign now. And Trump is going to run, he's going to go to every swing district and run as if he's running for county commission in that district. That's how we're going to run this thing. And it was an amazing thing to listen to. I'm sure he assumed that I would share this with others, and this is the first time I'm sharing it since I've been out here for a couple of days. But I think we all need to take heed here because we do have the power to stop Trump. We do have the power to get both the House and the Senate back. He does not have to be a two-term Trump. But nobody thought W would get that second term, and he got it. And you have to assume that he's going to. You know, I said this to Ben. He said, why are you interested in me? I'm just curious. So why don't you, try to get Don Jr. And I said, because you're Rommel and I'm Pat, and I have to figure out. I'm not afraid of you. I actually want to embrace you. I want to study you. I want to embrace you, and I'm going to beat you because I'm smarter than you. And I'm sorry to call you Rommel and me Pat. I don't mean to be disrespectful. You're a guest here. We can easily change these roles if you want, and I'll be Rommel. And he goes, no, I am Rommel. Do not take Rommel from me. I thought, okay, you know how that story ends, right? So, anyway, sorry that took so long.
No, so at Toronto, the Toronto Film Festival, yes, in 2015, I was covering the premiere for one of the entertainment shows, and this is a year before the election, but Trump was already starting to make some noise, and I was asking about where it would be next and everything, and I said, like, what's your take on this? Just sort of like a very broad question, and you looked at me and said, Germany, fascism, Hitler. That's my take on this. This is a year before, and towards the end of this movie, you were right on point. It was a very uncomfortable scene to watch. How on point, you're seeing Trump superimposed with Hitler in this movie. What is your take on how sort of on point that was?
Well, I've been asked on different shows, why are you saying that Trump is Hitler?
Yeah.
I said, well, you haven't seen the movie. Hitler talks, but it's Trump coming out of his mouth. I think I said, Hitler is Trump. Not the other way around. There's a difference. There's a slight difference. Hitler would be channeling Trump in the future. I'm a satirist too, so I actually just thought it was funny. Some things I just put in the movie because I just think they're funny. And a dark movie like this, people need some relief. I read a book in 1980 by an author, philosopher named Bertram Gross. He wrote a book called Friendly Fascism. And he wrote in the 1980s that the fascism of the 21st century will not come with concentration camps and swastikas. It will come with smiley faces and a TV show.
Oh, wow.
And it was very prescient, this book. And it stuck with me for a long time, trying to always be sort of on the lookout for, if there is a return to fascism, it will come in a different form. It will not come in a Nazi form. And I'm glad you said Germany, because I don't like calling them Nazis. Nazis allow us to sort of separate them from humanity. They sound like aliens. They came from another planet.
It's the bad guys.
They were crazy. No, they were the guy mowing the lawn next door. They were the clerk. They were a bank teller. They were normal people, educated. One of the most civilized, educated, cultured societies, and that's the way they went. And Professor Snyder from Yale, who's a historian there in the film, said to me, democracy does not have a self-correcting mechanism. There is no, like in our more modern cars, if you go into a skid, the brakes have a way to correct themselves, and you're not going to go off the cliff. Democracy does not come with that. Democracy, as you said, is a piece of paper. And it is either followed or not followed by the people of that era. It is amended or not amended. It is, we've been through many permutations of what we call our Constitution, our Bill of Rights. One day everybody has rights, the next day we could throw Japanese Americans into camps. just because. We have a president now who has no respect for the law, no respect for the Constitution. He's a sexual predator in many forms. He, I've taken some little bit of shit for the Ivanka stuff, but that's mild, I think, compared to what is really out there. And everybody saw this. It was on The View. He's on Wendy Williams. Are there any school teachers in here? Anybody is a school teacher? Okay, do you know what I'm sure you know what the law says in the state of California. If a 13-year-old girl, a student, comes to you and says, my dad keeps saying that the thing we have in common is sex. My dad keeps calling me voluptuous to his god friends. My dad says that if I wasn't his daughter, he'd be dating me. Dating, i.e., what he really means. My dad took a picture of me when I had to sit on his lap and kiss him. If you're a public school teacher and a student, a 13-year-old, shows you that, what do you have to do? You have to contact Child Protective Services. In fact, the law in California says if you don't, you could be arrested. It's a felony if you're a teacher and you do not report a child who tells you these things or shows you pictures of something like that. How did we even get here to him being president?
You ask. How the fuck did this happen?
Well, in part it's because there's a lot of reasons. One is the media. All the men who run the networks were his friends. And their top male stars, O'Reilly, Matt Lauer, they're all his friends. In fact, it was the media that came up with their affectionate nickname for him, the Donald. The Donald. Right? Anybody from New York? Years, decades, right? Tabloid covers. Best sex ever. Right? The Donald. And yet, New Yorkers knew that he had been brought up on discrimination charges in the Trump apartments, where out of, I don't know how many thousands of apartments, 7 went to black families. They marked a C on any application, had a C on it for colored, for black applicants. Calling for the execution of the Central Park 5, who turned out to be innocent. Everybody in New York knew his game, knew his angles, knew how he had mistreated employees.
Let me ask you.
Yeah.
Okay, so you look at the media. I was curious why you didn't use sound or video or both from that tape, the Access Hollywood tape. Because when that leaked, whatever, everyone said, Trump is done. Oh, he's done for it. He's never going to be president now. And this was like a month and a half before the election, and he still got elected.
That's correct. I didn't use it because you've seen it. I don't want you to. How much do you have to pay to get in here tonight? $10? $12?
No.
No. It was worth it. Well, thank you. And also, plus, this ArcLight has been a shining star in Los Angeles for some time, and they forced the chain theaters to start putting in better projection, better sound, more comfortable seats, et cetera, et cetera. So hats off to them. But $17, man, where are these people? Okay. I can't ask you to give me $17, half of which goes to ArcLight, to show you stuff you've seen over and over on TV. Now, maybe you came in here thinking you were going to see the Billy Bush thing, or maybe Mike had the P tape, or whatever it is you thought you were going to. Did anybody think you were going to see the P tape? Come on, yeah. No, because we made a decision on day one of this movie, making it, that we were not going to chase the news, because the movie would never be finished, because it changes every day. That we wanted to tell a bigger story, and we didn't want people to give up their Friday. These people in here have worked hard all week. The last thing they want to do is come to this theater and look at Trump for 2 hours. Right? we're all suffering from Trump fatigue here, and yet we've got to get our game face on for November 6th. So I want to make a different movie, and so that's what I hope this was, to show you a little bit of what the setup was for Trump, but also how we, the American people, are complicit in the creation of Trump. We're a bit of the Dr. Frankenstein here to the monster. And the last thing I was going to say about this is that I'm still trying to go with the $17 thing. What I found most interesting, and I did have this in for a little while in the cut. What was most interesting about the Billy Bush bus over in Burbank was, go back and look at it again. And after Trump is all done with his grabbing stories, and he's put the Tic Tacs in his mouth, because that's part of it. He explains how he gets women with the Tic Tacs. It's time to get off the bus because the attractive woman is standing outside that they've been talking about. And so he goes down the 2 steps in front of the bus. He's inside the bus, and he doesn't know how to get off the bus. And so he knocks on the door, on the window of the door from the inside, thinking this is how the door opens with 2 knocks. And you realize in that moment, this motherfucker has never ridden a bus. He's actually never ridden a bus and doesn't know how to get off the bus. Just like if you don't know the story of The Apprentice, he didn't know how to say you're fired. They had to work with him. Dialect coaches had to work with him for 2 weeks to get that "you're fired" down, because CEOs never fire anybody. If you've ever lost your job, you never got fired by the CEO. They have henchmen and HR departments and George Clooney and Up in the Air, or whatever that movie was. Up in the Air. Up in the Air. That's who does it. So he never said the words, "you're fired." So they had to work with him for a couple of weeks on this, "you're fired." And the thing is that one of the reasons I sensed that he would win is because of where I live. If you live between the Hudson River and Interstate 5, The Apprentice is a very popular show. People loved him on this. How many of you watched The Apprentice every week when he was the host? Whoa. 1, 2. Yeah. Wives are pointing at husbands. Right. 3. Anybody over here? Unbelievable. But not really unbelievable. Because why would you waste your time on that crap? Okay. Yeah, and you live in LA. There's so much to do here. Right? I saw the Stanley Kubrick exhibit at Blackmore there a couple years ago. I don't get that in Flint. All right? So if you're in the Midwest, there's nothing to do. I'm a huge fan of The Bachelorette. I mean, that first show, I go down my whole list of who's in and who's out. But I also want to know what my fellow Americans are watching and listening to. I don't want to be in my bubble. I want to know that. And what Trump did, just so you know this, what he did every week and why people love the show and why they love him, is there's in every episode, one of the people that he's mentoring is a total douchebag. You work with that douchebag. Every one of you works with a douchebag, right? There's a douchebag in the next cubicle. There's a douchebag teacher down the hallway, a douchebag somebody, and the cathartic nature of every week watching Trump fire the douchebag and say, "You're fired," is exactly what you want to say to that motherfucker you've got to work with. So in that way, it was very popular, and I understood that. I wasn't really a fan of the show, but I would watch it enough to get the sense of the performance art and performance artist that is Donald J. Trump.
So we're now at a crossroads, a crisis of conscience, and quoting J.M. Barrie from Peter Pan, and this has happened before, and it will happen again. And the people who are here, who are in this audience, and the people who've seen the film at the festivals and have reviewed the movie, how to get the people who really need to see the movie, because I feel like people who like Trump are going to be like, oh, I'm not going to see that because it's, you know, it's anti-Trump. But they need to see the film.
Trump voters?
Yeah.
No, don't bother. No, don't do that. Don't waste your time. Here's my answer to this. There's so little time between now and the election. If they're still for Trump after 2 years of this nonsense and madness, if they were for Trump for 1 minute after Charlottesville, they're lost. And I know you're related to some of them. I know some of them are your fathers, some of them are your brothers, some of them are your brother-in-laws. They're the worst. Thanksgiving's coming up. You gotta let them sit at the kids' table and don't talk to them. Because there's no hope. You can still love them, but they are not going to. Listen, it's too much energy on our part. We have 100 million non-voters. Hillary only lost by 77,000 votes in those 3 states. That's all she needed. Do you think that there are 77,000 people out of the 100 million non-voters we could convince to show up in November? I think so. The only Trump voters I would bother with are, there are 8 million people who voted for Obama and then voted for Trump. I think some of them are probably a little embarrassed by their vote right now, and you can reach out to some of them. But I think we've got to get our own side out. We've got to start acting like we're the majority. There's more of us than there are of them. We don't need them to win. We have 3 million more votes. We're just bad at math and geography. You know, this is an audience of mostly liberal arts majors. And because we don't like the Electoral College, the way we deal with the Electoral College is, I'm not going to think about the Electoral College. Because it's awful. But it exists. And their side, they did pay attention to that. When I say that I think Trump can win a second term, here's what I think could actually happen. She won by 3 million votes. I think that our side, whoever runs, if it's a good person, you know, I don't mean, well, they're good people, but they shouldn't run because they're going to lose. So Joe Biden will lose, John Kerry will lose. They're thinking of running. John Kerry, Cory Booker will lose. Who else is going to lose? Bloomberg will lose. Who? Elizabeth Warren should win, but she'll lose. Kamala will lose.
So who do we got?
We have to run a beloved American. We have to, okay.
What about Bernie? What about Bernie? Bernie.
I will tell you this. If there's a debate between me and Trump, that motherfucker's going down.
Yes!
And I'm going to tell you this.
That's what I want to see.
That's what you want to see. Celebrity death match. He will go down so hard. Can I tell you, don't tell anybody outside this room? Is that okay? Sorry.
It's our secret.
Like, hit pause on whatever you're taping right now and then come back to it. But this give you an example of just how pathetic the Democrats are. I had this idea that Hillary, not known for her comedy chops, but I don't know if you've met her or whatever, she's a really nice person. And she has a great laugh. I voted for Bernie. I wasn't a Hillary supporter, but I got out there and did what I could do to help. But I thought, what would be cool is that during those 3 debates, he has no sense of humor. He can't take being laughed at. His skin is so thin that if you just slipped a comedy shiv, a satirical shiv, under that thin skin, he would implode on national television. If she just made fun of him in just the right way, boom. Like if she'd known what to say to him when he was stalking her around the stage. So this is my brainstorm. I called up Amy Schumer, Chris Rock, Bill Maher, and I said, how about if the 4 of us form like a Justice League of comedy for her? And here's how it's gonna work. We tell nobody. We take no credit for this. Each debate, we write lines, we write stuff for her that will unglue this malignant narcissist. And one of them will work. One of them will work, and boom, we get to watch that. And we can't ever tell anybody except our grandchildren, 50 years ago? And they all said yes. And I contacted the Clinton campaign to tell them the news. And I had to contact the second person to get an answer. When the answer finally got back, this is what I was told. Why would we want to take the risk of this? Of the four of you who all come with your baggage. We're going to win. Why would we risk losing by this getting out? And I said, what do you mean our baggage? And this individual says, well, one of you is dirty. I think she meant Amy. Well, when I told Bill Maher this, he goes, I'm the dirty one. But when they say, the episode of Mad Men where Don Draper's daughter is talking to her, 12-year-old boyfriend back in Westchester, and he says, wow, you're in the city, what's it like? And she goes, it's dirty. Remember that episode? Yeah. So it was. I knew it was meant to be Amy. One of you is an atheist. Okay, there's Bill. And then you, Michael Moore. I said, we're not going to tell anybody. Even our assistants won't know. We'll just write this stuff for you each debate and just fuck him up. Fuck him up. She can do it. She knows. Even if she doesn't perform it, she does have a good sense of humor. And when they turned us down, I thought, who else have they turned down that have offered help? I know they turned down the Michigan Democratic Party and the Wisconsin Democratic Party, who begged them not just to come, but to send us some yard signs or something, anything. And Podesta told me, that he's not the film, he told me, he said that basically the feeling was, and he said this was not my idea, that if we let her go to Wisconsin and Michigan, she would stir up more Trump voters to come out for Trump. So they were afraid of their own candidate. They had to hide their candidate to win. That's not how you win. This is what I admire about Republicans and conservatives and right-wingers. They have the courage of their convictions. When they believe something, they fucking believe it. And they never relent. They believe that a fertilized egg is a human being that's eligible for a driver's license. They believe Adam and Eve rode on dinosaurs 6,000 years ago.
It's in the movie.
People, they say, oh no, if we lose Trump, we get rid of Trump, we're going to get Pence. That's how liberals talk, right? Oh, we don't know, Pence is worse. No, he's not worse. Pence believes in something. That's less dangerous than a person who believes in nothing in the White House except Donald J. Trump. That's his only belief system. Pence actually believes if you're gay, he can convert you to be straight. Okay, let's have that debate with him. I believe we'll win that debate. I believe the majority of Americans will side with us, not Pence. What are we afraid of? There's more of us than there are of them. We are the majority. We need to start acting like it. We need something, like I said, when you think of Texas, you gotta start thinking lesbian. It's like, I want America to start thinking we're all California. It's not just you out here with the things that you believe in. It's believed by now, the 70% for Medicare for all, that's the latest number from the 52%, now listen to this, 52% of Republicans now believe in Medicare for all. That's the country you live in. That statistic surprised me about the guns, that 78% of us don't own a gun. We're thought of by other countries as everybody here has a gun. Not true. But 3% have 150 million guns. That is scary. But we can deal with that. We have to deal with it. So, okay, now you can click those things back on. Should we take a couple questions from the people?
Yes, definitely. Sure. Okay, right there. Yes, you.
For $17, I think we've earned the last
Yeah.
For $17, you earned what?
The last Moonbed story.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to tell the West Moon story.
Oh, West Moon story. Come on!
No! That's a $27 story.
That's on the Blu-ray.
You know what I thought you said? I thought you said for $17, I should come over and wash your car. That I would do. That I would do. I'm so $7. It should have been $10 for the movie, $7 for me to wash your car tomorrow. Well, wait a minute, no, you live in a state where there's no water. So you need to drive around with it.
There isn't, there isn't.
There isn't.
Yeah.
I promise I'll put it up on my Facebook site very soon. But
He'll dedicate it to you.
yeah, what's your name?
Chad.
Oh. I can't dedicate anything. I'm sorry, no offense to anybody, but Chad, Brad, and Brett. Kavanaugh. I don't know. What's your middle name?
Chemo.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so when I post this, it'll be Takimo. How do you spell that?
K-I-M-O.
Yeah, not the kind of sad kind of chemo.
There's a question right here. Yeah, stand up.
I lived in Montgomery, Alabama during the civil rights marches. I knew Martin Luther King through my ministry to the seminary family. My father knew George Wallace. My sister was riding horses with his kids a mile away. So I got to know these people. George Wallace wanted me to mentor me to be the governor of Alabama. I come from Senator Howell Heflin's family because I said to George Wallace and my father, "You're racist and you shouldn't be going to church," and I didn't blink my eyes, was what George Wallace said. And he said, "Nobody in Alabama has the guts to say that to us old men. So I respect you." When the civil rights marches started, a lot of women and a lot of young girls at my college, Huntington College, where our Attorney General went to school, lies about what the Bible says. We got involved. I have never seen women so involved in civil rights, speaking up, marching. We were told we could be raped or killed. We risked our lives. I think this is the first time in this country that I felt that kind of a sensing in women now. That we need to get up. We need to speak out. We need to march. And if enough of us got up on goddamn lazy asses and started, I'm serious, because we're not talking about what the women haven't done in the world. We haven't spoken up. And yet now you got Judge, what is it, Breitbart? As the secretary.
Question?
Do you have a question?
And if you really want to talk about something, I think you need to start talking about and recording how women might start getting involved more. Because there's so many of us, if we start getting involved, and
Right.
help other women
Right.
understand this.
Right. Yes.
Right.
Absolutely right on. Okay.
All right, so, go ahead.
I'll just briefly say that on the ballot on November 6th, with more women on the ballot than ever before. I believe there will be a tsunami of women voters going to the polls on November 6th, and young people of both genders, and people of color. 67% of this country right now, of the eligible electorate, is either female, people of color, or young people between the ages of 18 and 35. That's almost 70% of the country. That's America. Not old white guys like me. America looks like you. And when everybody realizes the power they already have, and that there's more of you than there are of them, this is going to turn around. It has to turn around. Boy, if I had like one huge hope for the November election, the majority gender controls 19% of Congress. 51% of the population, 19% of Congress. How amazing would it be if the number of women in Congress doubled 5 weeks from now? That would be the most amazing thing. And 6 weeks. So let's encourage that. Let's encourage young people to run for office. And those Parkland kids and all kids around the country, believe me, they're going to show up this time. We could have a record turnout. Here's, though, what I think where Bannon may be right. And it's what you said about getting off your butt. That too many people, I'm hearing it already, it sounds like the summer of 16, where we're kind of convinced we're going to at least get the House back. And everybody's feeling that way right now. You need to wake up every morning between now and November 6th with this mantra: we are going to lose on November 6th. Republicans will stay in control of both houses. Trump will have won his fake re-election, and he will then continue to dismantle and destroy our democracy. I don't ever answer really the question about 2020 because I don't know if we're going to get to 2020. Honest to God. Honest to God. I'll take no pleasure in the fact that 2 years from now you'll say, God, I was at the arc light. And Michael Moore said that. It sounded like, well, he's just trying to light a fire on us to get us out. And that is not what's going on. I have traveled the country. I have seen what's going on. And right now, Republicans are ahead in 206 districts. Democrats are ahead in 203, and 29 are a toss-up. The Republicans, as we sit here tonight, are ahead. They're going to keep both houses. Unless we, the majority, say, no, it's not going to happen. But that's the only way it's going to work. Women do have to. I remember one time I was here in Los Angeles. I don't know if it was an ACLU dinner or 80, I forgot what it was, but they had Jane Fonda give me an award for Bowling for Columbine. And she said all these nice things. She said, but you left one thing out of the movie, and that's, we don't do these mass shootings. We don't kill like men kill. And I thought, wow, that is so true. That we're actually safe from the majority of the population. Will not shoot you, will not jump you when you leave the arc light here tonight. If your radar is up and it's a dark night and you're in downtown Hollywood, your radar is up a little bit. But the image in your mind is not that of a woman jumping out to hurt you. It's a man. When the shooting started at the top of the hotel in Las Vegas last year, and I was watching CNN and they broke in and said there was a man up there, man or men. They don't know who. They had no information at that point. And I'm thinking, how do they know the gender? Why are they saying man? Well, of course we know why they're saying man. Because no woman goes to the top of a hotel and fires machine guns on 20,000 people at a concert. It just doesn't happen. This stuff never gets pointed out, but I'll tell you what, the CDC a number of years ago wanted to study why. Because we are, men and women, I know our differences, but it's still 23 chromosomes in each of the cells. But why men? Why do men do this? And the NRA blocked it, got Congress to block any funding for the CDC to understand or explore the gender issue when it comes to violence and mass shootings. And, it's at the point for me when if I turn on the 11 o'clock news night and a woman has shot some guy, my first thought is, wow, what did he do? Because, I just want to tell you one more thing about this. Up in Canada, very strict gun laws. For a guy to get a gun in Canada, he has to get a piece of paper, a form, and he has to have his wife or girlfriend, whoever he's in a relationship with, has to sign off on him before he can get the gun. And he has to get the ex-wife. He needs two women. He needs to get an ex-wife or an ex-girlfriend to sign off on it, or he doesn't get the gun. It's like, wow. And so their domestic violence with guns within families has just dropped. I mean, they didn't have much, but they only kill 100 of each other or two up there each year. They're just running around with big axes in the Yukon trying to get drunk and everything. But it's just the most amazing thing because, what's that scene like in the living room? All right, you call together your wife, your ex-wife, your girlfriend, and your ex-girlfriend. They're all there, and he's like, okay, sign this piece of paper so I can get a gun. And they're all like, fuck you! It had nothing to do with your question, but it just...
We have time for one more question in the hat. Yes, you.
Have you seen or are you in possession of either the N-word tape or the P tape?
Did you have any more jacket?
Well,
Thanks.
no. But we had our premiere here in LA on Wednesday night, and someone says he is in possession of the N-word tape, came to the premiere to tell me about it, and told me who else had the other stuff, all here in town, all in this town. So that's just 2 nights ago, so I really haven't had the time to explore it. But, you know, thanks to ones and zeros, I mean, anything can happen in terms of getting things out to people. But I think we have to remember with both of those things that, again, it hasn't mattered. The Billy Bush comments about grabbing women, all the other things where you thought this is it for him. Where he stood there with Putin and talked like a traitor. None of us could have gotten away with that. We have to really understand how he gets away with it. And one of the things I put forward in this film is that because he does it so with such, in plain sight and with such charm, that it doesn't sound bad. It's a smart technique. Those who've used it in the past, I'll give you an example of this. There was this guy he was a comedian, and he did a sitcom pilot out here, and he got picked up by ABC. And but there was a problem with him, and the problem is that this was a family sitcom for ABC years ago. He was a hair publisher, and it's been 7 years. It's been 7 years. Oh well. Now for the vocal stylings of Michael Moore. He had spent 7 years in maximum security prison in Michigan for selling heroin. And ABC and the publicists figured out that if this is discovered after the show's on the air, that'll be the end of it. Because you can't have a heroin pusher star of a family show. So they came up with a plan. They went on Oprah. And then he would make the big revelation that his name isn't really what his name is. And this is his past. And he has found redemption and has corrected himself and lives a good life. He said, my name is not Tim Dick. Well, no, I said this the wrong way. His actual name was Tim Dick. He said, so the name that you know me by as a comedian, Tim Allen, is not who I am. I am Tim Dick. I am a heroin user and an abuser and pusher. I've served my time, and now I live this kind of life, and I do good for the community. And the whole audience was like, this, damn. How would it have gone, though, if the National Enquirer or the Hollywood Reporter or whatever had found this out 3 months into the run of this new hit show, Home Improvement? The genius of that, it's the same thing. He's the same guy, did the same thing for his redemption. But if it had been discovered or uncovered, right? Why do we allow the system of when things are revealed in the news to work like that? The story's the same story, but he got the past, which I think he should have got. But when you find out these things from the past, then people rail up. And maybe this is a good way to close, if you don't mind me. Just it seems like we got to get out of here. But Brett Kavanaugh, we're talking about his past now this week. I want to say this, and I was on Chris Cuomo tonight on CNN, and then I went over and did Bill's show in the house that Les built down there. What is that, Fairfax and Beverly? I said, the President of the United States is a sexual predator. He should be on a sexual predator list. He's self-admitted. It's not an accusation I'm making. He's admitted it. And we've seen the pictures and we've seen the video of him and his daughter, and I feel bad actually for Ivanka, because if any of that is true, she's a victim. And while I'm not going to make a legal statement because I'm not a prosecutor or a judge, I haven't heard the evidence, but I do trust my instincts just like I think you trust your instincts. And I believe Dr. Ford. I believe Dr. Christine Ford. We've had time, we've had 5 or 6 days now to deal with this story. You've put it through your own bullshit detector, haven't you? And I'm not saying that that means he goes to prison or he gets this punishment or whatever, because he is innocent until proven guilty. But she's asked for the investigation. That's the most interesting part of this story. And that she's named the witness. And if you go to his yearbook page at Georgetown Prep, 1983, the quote he chose to put beside his picture was, I hope I don't mangle this, certain women need to be continually struck like a gong. Mark Judge. It was written for the Weekly Standard and other conservative publications. This is what he wrote as an 18-year-old adult. He's the witness. They won't allow any witnesses to this in their kangaroo court. They gave her until 10 o'clock tonight to say whether or not she was going to show up on Monday, where they've demanded that she show up, or they're moving on. I've been over doing Bill Maher, and then I came here. I haven't heard. Does anybody know what happened?
One more day. She asked one more day.
We're going to give you one more day. That's what we give the rape victims. We'll give you one more day to think it over. The way that they're talking to her, the way that the way that he spent 2 full days in the White House this week, they were trying to figure out how to do the story, how to do the Tim Dick part of this. And it's clear to me, and he can sue me later after he's not put on the Supreme Court, that he did this. And I am sick and tired of us not listening, because I have had to listen to this. I'm 64 years old, and I have listened through, from the time I was in high school, to women, to girls in high school, what they had to go through. And nobody believing them, and then most not even bothering to say anything or tell anybody, not wanting to go through the shame of it. It's a fucked up system here. And it has to change. And if we let the year of Me Too go by and just say it was Harvey Weinstein and Les Moonves, and not the fact that this permeates our entire society. I don't know what you were like in junior high or high school as a guy, but can I just say that for us guys who had to put up with these assholes, because they were assholes not just to women, they were assholes to us, they were bullies, they were douchebags, they were awful. And I understand how oppression works. By this age, I understand. People say 53% of white women voted for Trump. That's right. They did. But you've got to step back from that and understand that's no accident. That's the way that our society got structured in our grandparents' time, in our parents' time, and now the young women are trying to end this once and for all, and we all need to stand up with them and stop this once and for all. Please, remember, guys, especially, remember the douchebags back in junior high. They're still running CBS. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Get the $17 worth, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. Michael Moore, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm washing your cars tomorrow. You get a clean car. You get a clean car. You get a clean car. Thanks, everybody. Please tell people to come see this movie. Thank you.